The Chiefs are going back to another Super Bowl, and like a problem that people have is they can't be objective. And like I know that where I'm sitting, a lot of people think I can't be objective. The Chiefs are a fantastic franchise. They've got maybe the best head coach ever in the making. They have a fantastic defense. They have a fantastic quarterback. They have a fantastic team. And everybody keeps saying, we're longing. They can't believe they're longing for the days of Tom Brady. And they don't know why people are saying that. They're acting like, how bad is it that they miss Tom Brady? And I'm going to explain to you guys why. The first reason is when Tom Brady won that first Super Bowl, he was just Tom Brady from Michigan. He wasn't this mythical figure and this superhero that they made Patrick Mahomes out to be. You guys got to understand that Patrick Mahomes is basically the LeBron of the NFL. What I mean by that is, I remember when LeBron came into the NBA. I'm not a big NBA guy at all. But when he came into the NBA, it was one of his early years. They made it to the finals and they got swept by the Spurs. I remember at that point, people were already saying he was the greatest player ever. And if they weren't saying he was the greatest player ever, they were saying he was going to be the greatest player ever. And that's the difference between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, the LeBron effect. LeBron did go on to become one of the greatest players in NBA history. But I sincerely believe if people hadn't have done that so early and they hadn't have kept shoving it in your face how great LeBron was, people probably wouldn't hate on him as much today as they do. Because LeBron became the all-time leading scorer, won 4 championships, I think. He has all these records. He played all these years, and he's great. He's great. He really is great. But now that his career is almost over, it will be time to start talking about maybe is he the greatest ever. But that shit has been going on for 20 years. They started it early. I think the third Super Bowl Tom Brady won was against the Panthers, maybe. The Panthers are the Eagles, right? And then it was a while before he won another one. So, there were always people trying to tear Tom Brady down. And yeah, he had people that were trying to pump him up, but Tom Brady was never the biggest or the fastest, and he didn't have these throws when he was falling down that were incomplete that people played over and over and over that they think makes a great quarterback. People could always point to things and try to tear down Tom Brady. The system, the coach, whatever it might be, they always said that, oh, it's not Brady, it's Belichick. It's not Brady, it's this or that. And part of the reason they could do that is because they'd show his combine footage of him running every year and people could make fun of it. Because people didn't recognize the stone cold killer that he really was. They didn't start to get that till he had that damn comeback against Atlanta, which you would sell your soul for and shit. Mahomes won the Super Bowl. He won it against my Niners. And then he won another one. And then everybody's like, oh, he's the greatest ever. Because he can throw the ball far and he can run. Did you not see him? Nobody else can do that. And I'm not even being salty. I'm really not. He is great. But great head coach, check. Great defense, check. Everything that Brady had pretty much, right? Yeah. Do you know who was defensive coordinator and who stopped Tom Brady in that Super Bowl when the Giants beat Brady? Steve Spagnuolo. Do you know who the Chiefs defensive coordinator is right now? I'll give you a guess. But as much praise as people heaped on Tom Brady, they still talked about the Patriot way and Belichick and everybody else that he had. And even though they were a bunch of no-name guys, how good they came in and assimilated to the Patriot way. And that does happen with the Chiefs, but it's mostly about Mahomes. It's mostly about Mahomes and him throwing passes when he's falling down. It's mostly about Mahomes when he runs, and even though he's one of the biggest, fastest guys out there, guys are literally afraid to hit him. And not because he's a big motherfucker and probably be tough to run into that guy, because they're afraid they'll get penalized. And again, that's true for every quarterback in the NFL nowadays, but it's no shade and no hate. The Chiefs are really good. They have a good program. They built a great franchise. But like I said, if Mahomes wins this one, it'll be his fourth, and he'll be halfway to where Brady is, or past halfway. They should just now be starting to talk about him being the greatest, because he'd have a three-peat, and it would be his fourth Super Bowl. So yeah, you could say, well, he three-peated and he has 4, so we can put him over Montana now. Fine, he did the work. But they've been doing this shit since he won the first one. They've been, oh, he's so great. He's so this and that. And it's just, you're just like, Jesus Christ, it's the same shit y'all did with LeBron. That's why people miss Tom Brady. Because as great as Tom Brady was, it wasn't just all about Tom Brady. It just wasn't. And I'm not saying this isn't Patrick Mahomes' fault. Like this isn't him. This is more of the media's fault. And that's another problem, but it is what it is. People also have to realize that your quarterbacks mean more now than they did in the 80s and 90s, and even when Tom Brady started playing. I mean, if you were the best quarterback in the league in the 80s, you might have never won a Super Bowl. Look at Dan Marino. Having a good quarterback was maybe a fifth of the equation. Now it's almost half of it. I mean, it's at least a third. You got to have a good defense to get stops and force turnovers. You got to have a good offensive line. Back in the 80s, it was just less than that. Look how many great quarterbacks the 80s had that didn't win a Super Bowl in the 80s. Elway and Montana and Marino never won a Super Bowl. Montana won 4. I think Washington, they won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. It just wasn't as important back in those days. Now you can throw passes that you wouldn't dare try in the 80s. They throw them all the time. They're going up the seams and over the middle. You didn't try those hospital-ass passes back in 1993. So if you're an elite quarterback, you're the best quarterback in the league, and you have the best head coach in the league, and you have a great defense, you're probably going to win more Super Bowls. And again, that's being objective. Montana won 4 Super Bowls, and for the most part, he had elite defenses every year. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls. They don't call it the steel offense. It was the steel curtain defense. When John Elway won his Super Bowls, what did he have? Great running game, pretty good defense. Brett Favre won those Super Bowls in the 90s. No, he only won 1, a matter of fact. Who was on his defense? Reggie White, Santana Dotson, Leroy Butler. They had a good defense in those days. People forget about that. So that's the biggest reason why. That's the reason why people miss Tom Brady. It's because people wasn't riding Tom Brady the way they riding Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, Chiefs fans. It's just the truth. And you want to know what? Enjoy your success. If you are a real fan, I'm not mad at you. If you're somebody that hopped on a bandwagon and you are over the age of 16, then just, I don't got no respect for that shit. But if you've been a fan your whole life, I can respect that shit. But the rest of y'all, just go on somewhere. But it's the sportcasters, the podcasters, the little debate shows that need to go away. With the one guy on one side and one guy on the other side and a hot girl in the middle, those things need to go away. Or put me on there. I'll take the money. I can be objective. Shit, if Skip Bayless could do it all them years, I can do it. Now that's being objective.